So let me go to the title. You Cannot Arrest the Awakening of Humanity by Chad Vivas. Vivas. You cannot arrest the awakening of humanity. This young guy represents you. It represents the people in that time.
Yeah, humanity.
More than 10 years ago, 12, 13 years ago.
17, yeah.
You knew about the New World Order. New World Order police. You knew their plan was to arrest everyone who was dissenting.
Refuse the vaccine, yeah.
That was the plan.
If there are people who are non-compliant, there are definitely laws and public health powers that can quarantine people in mandatory settings.
I think regional quarantine facilities are going to be needed into the future. We'll also need it for unvaccinated people.
We've just been told from higher up where to take you, and that's all that there is.
The New World Order, our army, comes marching in, partnering with police to help enforce the country's tough new quarantine laws.
What is this New World Order? Why is it so dangerous? Who's behind it?
It's basically the wealthiest elites in the entire world that own all the world's resources. They think the world's overpopulated, and they think there's too many of us, which is not true. You can prove it. Basically, they wanted to depopulate the world by more than 80%. As you can see on the Georgia Guidestones, it says maintain humanity below 500 million. And that's a lot less than 8 billion people on the planet that they want to achieve and strive for. And you have, they say it openly. There's a video of David Rockefeller speaking out at the UN talking about overpopulation and how we need to stabilize the population.
Which raised the specter of an alarming and possibly catastrophic disaster to the biosphere we live in. The world's average life expectancy has increased from 46 years in 1950s to 63 years today. The world population that has risen during the same short period of time geometrically to almost 6 billion people and could easily exceed 8 billion by the year 2020. The negative impact of population growth on all of our planetary ecosystems is becoming appallingly evident. Unless nations will agree to work together to tackle these cross-border challenges posed by population growth, the prospects for a decent life on our planet will be threatened.
Bill Gates talking about we need to, on his TED Talk, how we can bring the world's population down with new vaccines, and it's too many people.
First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Rockefeller's created the Population Council, and these people openly state that the world's overpopulated, and then they also happen to be the biggest proponents of vaccines and chemical injections into people. Yeah. So their plan was to force vaccinate humanity. They were going to create a pandemic type scenario where they needed to scare the public into thinking they need to accept these new totalitarian measures to keep them safe. It's the same thing as the Patriot Act. Oh, we need to take away your freedoms to keep you safe. And their plan was to roll out a mass vaccine campaign. And this is something that I was learning in 2007 and 2008. And we all thought it was going to happen with swine flu back then. And what they were going to do is, there was laws being introduced at the time that if you didn't take the vaccine, there would be a force with police presence. And if you refused the vaccine, you would be put onto a bus and taken to a quarantine camp. And they were known as FEMA camps. And these FEMA camps all over the country. And basically, if you didn't take the vaccine, you would never be heard from again. You would just disappear. And then they had this whole new form of society that they had ready for the whole world. And it was outlined in a document that's now referred to as the Lockstep document. But I think it was called Scenarios and Technology for the Future, released by the Rockefeller Foundation, where they talk about a more tighter form of top-down authoritarian government. There was going to be biometric surveillance, digital IDs, which we later saw with Bill Gates and his ID 2020. And it's crazy because this is what they call you a conspiracy theorist for talking about this, even though it's public information. You can go to MIT's own website. They talk about Bill Gates' project to create quantum dot dye tattoos, where they were going to create literal barcode tattoos where they would be scannable with a smartphone that stores your vaccine and your medical history, and it would be connected to a digital ID, to your Facebook, to your driver's license, your social security, and it was going to be implemented with vaccines. It would get a barcode tattoo. And this is everything that's been talked about for a long time. Patriots like Bill Cooper, who was actually killed for speaking out against this. He wrote a book called Behold a Pale Horse. He was a naval intelligence officer with Q clearance that became a whistleblower and started speaking out on everything he found out.
What is Q clearance?
Q clearance is the highest level of clearance basically that exists in the government. So Bill Cooper had Q clearance. He had the highest access to all the top secret and classified information, and he was horrified by what he saw, and he became a whistleblower speaking out against the New World Order and how they had this plan to depopulate humanity and round up dissenters into camps. They were going to suspend the Constitution, use continuity of government as a way to suspend the Constitution and round people up into camps.
Massachusetts, the legislature is acting rapidly on a bill updating what the state can do at a public health emergency. That bill has languished on Beacon Hill for some time, but with the flu outbreak, it's now racing through the legislature. NECN's Josh Brugadier is at the State House in Boston tonight. Josh?
RD, the state Senate passed this bill, Bill 2028 today. They did so unanimously, and it gives the governor and the health commissioner the power to act in the public's interest in case in any kind of medical emergency. Timing sped up a hearing and ultimately unanimous Senate approval of the Pandemic and Disaster Preparation and Response Bill in Massachusetts. The bill gives the Public Health Commissioner the discretion to respond to an outbreak like the kind going on in Mexico, to close or evacuate buildings, enter private property, isolate or quarantine people, and to get and distribute meds and vaccines. The bill also protects healthcare workers from liability.
Josh, any penalty if you don't follow the emergency declaration rules?
It can actually get to be a pretty severe penalty because for each day someone didn't follow a rule, for example, if somebody was asked to be quarantined and they decided not to follow that, it could be a fine of up to $1,000 per day they didn't follow and also up to 30 days in prison.
Josh Brugadier on Beacon Hill tonight.